To optimize your camera for night portraits, you might want to set the camera to the night snapshot mode. For more control over the camera's functions, you'll want to set the aperture priority mode instead. You'll want to set the slow synchro flash function, and you might need to use the manual focus. And as always, you'll need to set an appropriate white balance. Let's start by setting the night snapshot mode. Turn your mode dial to SCN. In the back, use the control dial to change the scene. You want night snapshot. The difference between night snapshot and night scene is that in the night snapshot mode, the slowest shutter speed possible is 1/8 of a second, so you'll still be able to handhold the shot. In the night scene mode, the slowest shutter speed possible is 1 full second, so you won't be able to handhold the shot, and since you're taking a picture of a person, the person will not be able to stand still for 1 full second in order to turn out in focus in the shot. Just as with the auto mode, press the shutter button halfway to lock focus on your target. Then, press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture. If you want to have more control over the camera's functions, I recommend using the aperture priority mode instead. Turn the mode dial to AV. Aperture priority allows you to set the aperture while the camera sets an appropriate shutter speed. Since it's a portrait we're capturing, you want to have just the subject in focus, not the entire scene. So you want to choose an aperture like f2.0 or 2.8. I'll use the ring in the front of the camera to change this setting. Now I want to set the appropriate flash. Press the flash button right here, or the right navigation button, and use the control dial to set slow synchro. Give it a second to go away, or press the set button. With the slow synchro flash, the flash will be used to illuminate the subject in the foreground, but the shutter speed will stay open long enough to expose for the ambient light. Now let's go ahead and set the appropriate white balance. Press the function button to access the function menu, and go down to white balance. The white balance should be set to flash because you're using the flash to illuminate the subject. You don't care so much about the background lights and what color they'll turn out. So move over until you get to the flash white balance option and press set. Now with the appropriate aperture set, my flash is set up properly and my white balance is properly set up, I can go ahead and take my picture. Place the focusing square over the subject. Press the shutter button halfway to lock focus. Once the focusing square turns green, the focus is locked and you can recompose the image. Now press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture. If the focusing square did not turn green, but yellow instead, it means the camera was not able to lock focus, in which case you'll need to use the manual focus. Press the manual focus icon or the left navigation button right here, and use the control dial to choose manual focus. Then press set or give it a second to go away. I find that the image magnified in the center is not quite magnified enough to tell whether the image is in focus or not, so I prefer using the focus gauge on the side. I'll set this to about 5 feet. Then I'll position myself about 5 feet away from the subject, and then take the picture. If you feel more comfortable using meters and centimeters, you can set the distance units in the main menu. Now you're ready to take your picture. With the ISO set to auto, your shutter speed should be fast enough. Press the shutter button halfway to see what the shutter speed will be set to. Mine is currently set to 1/60th of a second, which is no problem to handhold. If yours is less than 1/8 of a second, you should know that the background will probably turn out a little bit blurry. Depending on how much light is in your scene, the subject may turn out blurry as well. If the subject is almost completely dark, then I wouldn't worry about the shutter speed too much. Go ahead and take your picture. Compose the image the way you want it in the frame. Then press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture.